they were going to build that up and pay her back and continue the
Just continue to source everything.
Yeah.
Scott, do you have your sheet sort of ready if I fire questions at you?
Yeah, I have a sheet ready for you.
Okay, and you guys can all see that now?
Yep.
All right. So here, guys, here's sort of the format. You're used to seeing these, but I want to make sure you jot questions down as we go. Or in the case of Rick or Rusty, please throw in things or questions that you think I didn't ask, right? Because A, it's been a long week, and B, it's been a long day. So fire away with questions that I don't ask. All right, Rob, deal type first.
Okay, so the deal type is a sign out.
A sign out. And what was the source?
Source was an expired listing.
Do we know how long it was expired?
It was expired for 6 months. It was on the market for 6 months, so it ran the whole term with the realtor.
Okay, and then you got it at what stage after expire?
I called her probably a couple of weeks after it expired, and she had talked to another person who was going to do a lease purchase with her, but they never got back to her. So when I called, she was like, "You're going to get back to me?" I'm like, "Of course, I'm going to send you my information, and I'll give you a couple of days to take a look at it, and I'll get back to you." So I did, and she was okay with that.
Okay, and what was her scenario? What was her motivation? Like, give us a little background on her.
Yeah, sure. So they bought this property for an investment property. I think they were going to use it as a short term, but they ended up renting it out for 3 months. They only purchased the property back in March of 23. So they rented it out right away. The tenants destroyed the property. So they were like, I guess they were done at that point. They put it right on the market and tried to sell it. They were asking $210 for it on the market, and it just expired after 6 months.
Okay. So they had a rotten tenant and they were still open to AO, huh?
Yeah, well, so originally, like I said, I was going to do a lease purchase, which they were, okay, let's hear about it. So I actually met him out to the property. I set the appointment, met him out to the property. The husband didn't want to wait 36 to 48 months to get his money. He just wanted to be done. He wanted to, just to get his cash and close that chapter of his life. But I said, well, listen, I do have another option for you. I can, if we get it under agreement, I could find you a buyer that we pre-screen, for credit, criminal, sexual harassment, the whole bit. And we'll take that package, we'll present it to you. And what's good about that is we're out of the middle. You can get a little bit of cash flow each month and, and get close to your full ask price. So they were, talking about it. I was going around the house, taking pictures, and I heard the husband say, "This is too good to be true." So, we ended up chatting a few days later. I called her back to see how they were, and they were good with what I wanted to do with the AO. So we signed the agreement and got the house on the market.
Okay, so a couple questions, and if you guys don't know if there's gaps or you don't know what I'm talking about, please ask. Did you utilize either or the videos, the Dunphy videos, or did you map out just chicken scratch on a piece of paper at the house what the numbers look like, or how did you explain the AO? Did you use either one of those? Did you do it yourself?
Yes, no. So at the house, I wrote it out on a piece of paper. I wrote out what the deal could look like. It was an example. I told them, this is what we're going to try to shoot for. Not that we're going to get this, but this is what we're hoping to get.
Okay.
So they looked at it and they were like, okay. I also did send them to to my website, and on the website there, I have the videos of the lease purchase, the owner financing, sign out, all that. Right. So I did direct them back to that, and they went home that evening and watched the AO video as well.
Okay, awesome. If that's foreign to you guys and you're not in the community, those Dunphy videos are yours when you're in the community as an associate anyway. And then on the term, did you explain the standard AO on or before? Would you do 18, 24? What'd you do on the AO?
Yeah, it was on or before 24 months was the term. They were okay with that because they, like I said, they were willing to get a little bit of cash flow. I think they like that idea. I mean, they did buy the property as an investment, so now they're able to get a little bit of cash flow. And I also explained to them that these are buyers that are coming into the property, not tenants. So you're not going to get those 2 a.m. Phone calls in the morning. They're going to treat the property as if they own it. It's just that their loan's not in place yet.
Okay, so because we don't need the space down below, when you sketch this out for them, what did you use for the example sell price, and did you get that?
Okay, yeah. So I told them that I was going to run comps. I know they wanted 210 for it. So I went home, I ran my comps. I was coming in around 199. So I got back to them and said, look, we might have to come down on this price. Would you be okay with it? And they were. So they agreed to the 199 or 200. You could say.
Okay. So you guys marketed at 200?
That's what
I mean, the minimum you promised, sorry.
Yes, that was to the seller.
Okay. And then in the example, you suggested he'd get how much as an example? Was it 10%?
Yes. So we put it on, I put in my example that, we'll put it on the market for 220 and see what the market brings us.
Okay. And then this is done, right? This is sold?
Yeah, that's sold.
Okay. So 220, and then you and Nick presumably worked on this, or was it one of the coaches?
No, it was Nick.
Okay. So you promised this. You went on 220. What did you guys end up getting?
Okay, so they came in with a down payment of 24,000. So we split that. I got 70%. They got 30%.
You did 70 for you?
Yes.
Sweet. Just doing that to beat us, aren't you? 70% to you. Nice. And was that over time or upfront?
That's over time. So they'll make 3 payments of $8,000. So the first one at signing, second one on like April of 25, and then the third one in April of 26, on or before. So it could be before as well.
And in the AO agreement with the buyer, is the buyer making the rent payments directly to the seller and the payday one payments directly to you?
Yes.
Sweet. I can't find a hole yet. Okay, good job.
I did collect first month's rent too.
How much was the first month's rent?
That was $1365.
Okay. So 70% of 24 is what? Someone.
18,000. I'm sorry, 16,800.
16.8 is you plus clean 1365. Right?
Right.
So what's that come to? 18 and change?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Sweet. How long did this take for 18 grand?
That went pretty quick. I mean, I had a lot of activity on that property, and it probably took a month and a half, I'm thinking, maybe even less time than that. But it moved pretty quickly from start to finish.
The time you called them to go on the appointment to check in hand, couple months?
Yes.
Nice. Clockwork. Rick, what am I not asking? And who has questions on this? Just unmute and yell.
Where did you find the buyer?
Yeah, where, how, and any nuances there? Good question.
Yeah, no, I used, oh my gosh.
Prosperity?
Yes, Propsterity, we put it on. But where I found the lead source is, I'm drawing a blank.
What, with buyer actually?
I'm sorry, My Plus Leads.
You found the expired from My Plus?
Yes. Oh, the buyer, I'm sorry. Yeah, the buyer we found on Prosperity.
And you know which portal from Prosperity or no?
I think they used Zillow.
Zillow?
They found me on Zillow, yeah. So Prosperity, they blast out to Zillow, Realtor.com, Apartments.com, a whole bunch of them. And I also did post on Craigslist and Facebook and got a lot of activity on both of those as well.
Nice. So does everybody get that? it's nice that we have prosperity, but we never had it until like 2.5 years ago. Never. So we had to post everything manually. So when prosperity takes it, go nuts and put it elsewhere. You guys, you want to get this baby sold. It sounds like Rob pulled out all the stops. That's why it went the way it did. So the buyer owes that financing 196, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the seller's getting 30% of that, which is 2, 4, 6, what, 7,200?
Yes. 7,200.
Okay, so you promised him 200, and he's getting what? What's that come to someone? 3 carried to 1, 203, 2.
Yeah, and then whatever they get monthly, I think they're getting around $50 monthly cash flow on that.
Okay, so they still depreciate it. They get $3,200 more than you told them they would, and they get a little cash flow monthly. This is why the AO is a no-brainer. Does anyone not get my very clear and concise chicken scratch? Jeff.
How did the rent compare to what they had it rented for?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really close. I think they had it rented for $1,100 a month, and we came in at 12. We listed it for 12, and then the buyer would come, of course, pay taxes and renter's insurance on that. So the taxes were very low. I think it came in, well, yeah, it came into the
100-something bucks.
1365, yeah.
So wait, Rob, they were only getting 11-ish, and then they were paying their own taxes and expenses as a landlord.
Yes, correct.
This is dramatically better for them.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Sweet. I love it. Jeff, that answered your question, right?
Yeah, fantastic. Yep.
So simple, guys. He tried to get a lease purchase. That's what we always do. And back down to AO. I don't want anyone to misconstrue, because I hear a lot in the community. Well, I need cash flow right away, like you did, Chris, when you started. So I'm gonna do AOs. There's no different. If Rob did a sandwich lease, he still gets payday 1. It's just like getting the AO. I did a lot of AOs at the beginning because I didn't know how to do the other ones good, and I was intimidated. So I cranked through the AOs until I said, this is hogwash. This is like a job. And then realized that I could do all these other things. That's why. It wasn't just because I needed cash flow. I needed cash flow, yes. But you can do that with any one of these deals. They're all payday 1s, right? This exact payday could have happened maybe even higher because you would have kept it on a sandwich, all of it. Just
Yeah, an AO is a no-brainer for anybody that rents their property out.
and is done, right? Yeah. Yeah. I.e., I just got trashed by a tenant. Perfect shoe in. Yep.
Plus, they don't have to spend that 5% on a real estate commission, so they get
Yeah.
that.
Rob, sorry to interrupt. Rob, Nazil has a great question. What did the husband say after all was done?
Well, he was pretty quiet through the whole thing. I really didn't communicate with him too much. It was really just his wife. But they, of course, they're skeptical when you, even going out to the property, they were still skeptical about the process and how it was going to work. But just communicating with them and keeping in touch with them, I think that put them at ease. And then also when we sold the property, of course, she did thank me, for all the help that I had provided to her. So, it's all about communicating with the people and just keeping that lines open. So, they get to trust you.
You guys, Prosperity is prosperity.io, I believe. Prosperity.io. When you get a taken, you'll sign up and submit. The marketing will get done. Once you get it under agreement, if you want to, or in this case, it's an AO, if the seller wants to, they can utilize Prosperity as an escrow service, and the tenant buyer will pay on the portal. Prosperity will obviously receive that as a clearinghouse. They will pay the underlying debt, and they'll drop the difference into your account for payday 2. So you have to touch it.
Just put the link in the chat.
Great,
too.
thanks. When Nick and I were at our prime with 72 properties, we were doing it all in-house. Prosperity didn't exist, and all our tenant buyers were going to the bank and depositing or doing ASIC. Like, it was mayhem. There's such an automation with Prosperity, so we just try to tweak as we go. And by the way, that idea for Prosperity came directly from one of you, a student, who said, "Hey, I got experience with this. You guys are crazy. Why don't you just put it all through this system?" And we said, "Go for it." And that's how that company was formed. So just some background there. Other questions for Rob or Nick while we got this deal on the board, you guys? Nothing?
People lighten up the chat with questions.
Okay, did we miss any? Did I miss any? 7,200 buyer comes from Sean. Can you explain again where 72 buyer owed comes from? Oh, sorry. It's not, okay, so let's go to the 220. Rob, we're on the market for 220. Sean, the buyer paid 24 grand. So at closing, I just made a mess of my writing, but at closing, then if you take these two, the buyer's going to owe 196, right? To the seller.
Yeah.
But out of the 24 grand, the seller received 30% of that. Rob received 70. So the seller's net is what's owed at financing plus what they collected at the initial down, which was 7,200. So they collected a total of 2,032. Does that make sense? John?
Just to help everyone, Rob, I forget the exact number. What did they come to the table with signing with for their initial down payment?
Was it a third plus first?
Yeah, that was 8,000 they came to the
Okay.
table with.
Plus first month.
Yes, plus first month.
Okay, so let's talk about first month for a second, because that was another technique that came up, like, I don't know, several years after we started from a friend of mine. So Rob puts in the AO agreement, for those of you that are newer, that he's retaining first month. If I'm going to ask you if you get pushback in a second, Rob, but if he gets pushback, or if you get pushback, what's the answer, Rick? If they say, why you keep it first month, what's the answer?
Well, because the mortgage is paid in arrears, and why would we pay for a month that we didn't live there?
Yep.
Or the tenant buyer lived there.
So a tenant buyer's paying it because that's their rent, but we're not going to pay the seller's mortgage because that's paid in arrears. And on occasion, you'll get pushback. Who cares if you have to give it in? But Rob, did you get any pushback or questions on that?
Yes, I did, and I explained the same way that Rick just did. You know, the mortgages are paid on, prior months, so, you'll still be getting that.
And did they just go, okay?
Yeah, they were okay. They were okay with it. Just we just want to make sure that we're going to get it, and I'm like, yeah, no problem.
So guys, when you answer like that confidently, like both Rob and Rick just did, like, oh no, this is how it works, and you explain it, then you move on, you're not leaving it open for negotiation. This is how we do it. If we're going to get this done for you, this is how it works. It's not a negotiation. Cool. What other questions about this or AO in general? Because as Sean pointed out indirectly with his question, my chicken scratch didn't do that good a job. I probably should have just used the whiteboard for an AO. Jeff? Oh, you're clapping.
Sorry, that was clapping. That's awesome, Rob. Great story, man. Really,
Thank you.
really great.
Yeah,
We didn't ask about the buyer, though. What's the buyer story? Or did we? And I'm just blanking. I don't think we did.
So the buyer was out of state. They lived in Michigan. The house is in Pennsylvania. They wanted to move closer to their family. And, what I get a lot of times with the buyers is that they're renting from wherever they're living, and the landlord sells the property and then they have to move. So they were just tired of being on that, constantly moving because their landlord keeps selling the property. But this was a perfect opportunity for them because they wanted to move back closer to family, and they were actually looking for something like a rent to own. And they were really excited when they saw this come up and when I talked to them about it.
And sorry, Rob, why couldn't they qualify day one?
No, so the reason why they moved was because their landlord was selling their.
No, I get that, but they couldn't go get a mortgage right away?
Oh yeah. They had a little bit of ding on their credit, so they needed a little bit of credit repair. Nothing major. They should probably be ready even before the 24 months, maybe 18 months. They should be mortgage ready.
Okay, so let's address that, especially for people that are newer. So the screening came back. I'm assuming you used Paul Ritter's My Credit Team.
Yes.
The screening came back. What did it say for a time frame for mortgage readiness?
Between 18 and 24 months.
Sweet. And if it said 36, it probably wouldn't have worked because your seller wanted out.
Right, and they both worked for the post office in Michigan,
Ah.
and they had no problem getting transferred to Pennsylvania where they were going to be living. So, they both had good jobs. They've been there for years.
Not a change.
Yeah, so they're real happy about it.
Do you know, did Paul's team discover why they had a ding, or any story that you said, okay, legit?
Yeah, I forget. I think it was like a car payment or something. It wasn't nothing major.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Just a slip up.
Yeah, and I think they didn't have enough of a down. They borrowed some of the down payment from their, I guess, from her mother. So, but they were going to build that up and pay her back and continue to, put it down. her
Just
down
continue to
payment.
source everything.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, I'm done asking. Does anyone else have questions? I think I covered most of what was in my brain on that one. Any other questions on this AO or other AO processes? Please feel free to ask. How did you come up with 24 months? How'd you come up with 24 months? And I can't see what's behind that. Why can't I see that? Buyer's credit ready report. What does that mean, you guys? It's blocking a word for some reason on me. There it is. 24 months of buyer's credit ready report. Nazil, I think you're asking how we came to the buyer's term, which is you put them through screening at mycreditteam.com. They do the work for you, but there's some very important documentation in there that covers your butt. One is the DTI, debt to income report. It's like one pager. They have to sign that at the buyer's meeting, because you don't want them to get amnesia either at the end of just like a seller can get amnesia, a buyer can run up a credit card, buy 14 cars and go, I don't know, they told me I could buy this house and now I can't. It's their fault and I want my money back. It's happened. So you have them sign the DTI statement that says, no, you can't go buy 14 cars for your family. You have to stay within this mortgage ready plan or you're not going to get qualified. And you can't buy a box at the Patriots game, even though they are the best team, and run up all your credit cards. You can't do that. So that's why you haven't signed the DTI. Super important. Like all these steps, we're not hitting all of them, but in Mod 11 in the QLS, and if you're an associate, everything's in ARC, the Associate Resource Center. The checklists that we literally use right here in the office with Sue and I and Nick and Zach, they're in there for you. You can't miss anything if you go to the checklist, because we've gotten stung and we've built that thing over the years to not get stung anymore. Okay, that was a long answer, Nazil. I think I answered that. Company, yep, mycreditteam.com. AO on a mobile home. Julie, on a mobile, there's no asset class you can't do any of this on. On the mobile home, I try to go for owner financing because a lot of banks won't finance them and the sellers presumably know that. But you can do an AO on anything. Remember, high net worth people are buying planes and boats, owner financing and sub 2. This is not new. In fact, the higher you go in that scale, they tend to understand it.